What if I told you that the greatest force of love and desire the world has ever known was born from an act of brutal violence? That from the blood of a betrayed sky god cast into the depths by his own son, something began to stir in the foam. The sea itself became pregnant with a power it could not contain. It churned and bubbled for ages, until it could hold its secret no longer. This is not a story of gentle creation. This is the story of how beauty conquered chaos. This is the story of the moment the world changed forever with the birth of the goddess Aphrodite. Stay with me and witness how from the darkest act the most radiant goddess arose. In the beginning there was chaos, and from chaos the first gods were born. Uranus, the starry sky, who embraced Gaia, the fertile earth, but their union was one of tyranny and sorrow. Uranus, fearing his children, hid them deep within Gaia's womb in the crushing dark. The pain of Gaia became a grinding, furious thing, and from it she forged a weapon, a sickle of adamant, unbreakable and sharp, and she offered it to the only one of her children with the cunning and the courage to wield it, Cronus. And so, when Uranus next descended to lay with Gaia, Cronus emerged from his hiding place with a single terrible swing. He severed his father's genitals and cast them behind him into the waiting, churning sea. This was not merely an act of violence. It was an act of revolution. The old order was felled. The blood that fell upon the earth gave birth to the Erinyes, the giants, the Malaya. But the sea received a different gift. The foam, sea churning with divine essence. The immortal flesh and the divine blood of the sky itself mingled with the salt and the spray. It began to froth and churn, a white foam bubbling with a power it had never known. Aphros, the foam. For ages it swirled, gathering potency, gathering purpose. The sea itself was pregnant with possibility, and from that mixture of primal violence and fertile sea, something new was being woven. Not from love, but from its opposite. Yet its nature would be the very antithesis of the act that created it. And then the foam parted. From the very center of that radiant, churning whirlpool, she arose. Not a child, but a woman in the full flower of her divinity, more radiant than the sun on the water. She stood upon a scalloped shell, a perfect cradle that carried her towards the light. The sea itself held its breath. The winds, the zephyrs, rushed to her, whispering, gently blowing her to her destiny. She was beauty itself, given form. A smile that could launch 1,000 ships, eyes that held the promise of all joy and all sorrow. Arrival welcomed on Cyprus, flowers blooming. Her shell touched the sandy shore of an island blessed by the god Cyprus. And as her perfect alabaster foot stepped onto the earth, a miracle unfolded. Wherever she trod, the very ground burst into life. Lush grass and fragrant flowers sprang forth in her footsteps. The seasons, the Hori, daughters of Themis, were there to greet her. They clothed her in gossamer robes of gold, anointed her with sacred oils that smelled of all the flowers of the world. They placed a crown of finely wrought gold upon her head and jewels that sparkled like the first stars of evening around her neck. She was no longer a being of the foam. She was the goddess, Aphrodite, the Cyprian. And so she emerged from the castration of the sky, yet became the goddess of union. She was born of the sea's fury, yet became the embodiment of its serene, captivating beauty. She's the reminder that from chaos and pain can come the most profound beauty. That love can be the unexpected, radiant answer to strife. To this day, when you see the sea foam kissing the shore, know that you are witnessing an echo of her birth. When you see a flower stubbornly growing from a crack in stone, that is her influence. She's the eternal, paradoxical link, the deep, unpredictable sea, and the irresistible, blossoming love that forever springs from it. She's Aphrodite. And her story begins not with a whisper, but with a wave.